So Kia is, I don't even know how to describe you. Good gracious. Calling you a designer would be like an understatement, right? What would you call you?
So these days, now I started in design. These days, what do I call it? Print marketing strategist. It's
Okay.
really the best way that I can
Print
say.
marketing strategist.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that.
That's what I find myself doing, and along with everything else that goes with doing a great print campaign.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
So she is the designer of that lovely shock and awe box that you guys all got to take a look at. Oh, all right. Yeah, give it up for Kia for that. We've already pulled it apart.
Love it.
So sometimes,
I love
but so how do you get your motivation for something like this? I mean, what's your thought process when you're going like, all right, got to come up with a box for a carpet cleaner? The hell am I going to do?
Carpet cleaner. You know, it's, I love design. So I started out, I didn't start in design. I came to Johns Hopkins campus when I started out was because I worked for the Hubble telescope, which a lot of people don't know, and it's kind of crazy and fun and interesting story. Great job, but was there for 10 years, amazing people. But every day I felt like I was going into prison and coming back out again. And I knew I had to make a change. And when I was in my beautiful office with the window, and there's like a stream and green and grass, and I'm looking at the squirrels and the birds, and I'm looking at these squirrels run around, and I would be jealous of those stupid squirrels because they were free. I literally would say, that squirrel has more freedom than I do right now. And so that was I decided I can't stay here, and decided to switch to graphic design. It was an easy switch for me because it was computers, and we ended up, with my husband, purchasing a dusty old print shop. I basically bought myself a job, is what it was. And after several almost, we're gonna shut this down, why did I do this, go back and get a job moments, I realized that I needed to do better marketing. And in my quest to do the marketing, I learned how to do direct response marketing and messaging, and all the while I still loved design, I still loved the visual communication, and so now everything that I see, the design is an important part of it. It's a way to communicate. And I sort of launched myself into the direct response world, where everything was ugly. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody.
No, you're not going to offend anybody. We've talked ugly already.
Yeah, so it's...
But you can also do direct response nicely.
You can do direct, but see, ugly is subjective.
This is true.
It's subjective. And I actually have this concept, this article where ugly gets all the chicks. And why does that happen? And so, and I talk about that, the whole Dan Kennedy design, visual, it's all a brand. It's all about the response it gets. It's not about how it really looks. So I say all this to say that design has always been part of me and part of what I love doing. And even when I was working with consultants and coaches to try to reinvent my business, to try to grow, a lot of them would tell me, you need to get away from design and focus on marketing because design is commoditized, rightly so. But I stuck with it.
And we're happy you did.
Yeah, it's like, this is what I love, and that's what I find why I love about design is, whatever is in us that we love, we just stick with it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, and everything will come together. So now I think in pictures, and I love communicating in pictures. I think it captures messaging in a way that digital words, in a different way.
Okay, that's good. Not bad, huh? So I'm going to get it wrong, and I know I may embarrass you with the question, but I kind of told everybody, like when Jack Turk was here. Did you get to see Jack before he left?
I saw his hat.
You saw his hat.
I knew that was Jack Turk, but yeah. I didn't know he was going to come back.
So we said, Jack is marketing royalty. He was the voice of Dan when he was at GKIC. What's your Dan origin story? Because Dan was all about sloppy. I mean, hot mess advertising, ugly. And he has this thing about designers like, stay away from me.
Yeah.
How did you get into this with him?
Yeah. So I'll say, so there's a whole story to that, but how I got on his radar was I pissed him off, which isn't hard to do with Dan, I mean, granted, but I also got a 3-page fax from him that put me in my place after I pissed him off. That is hard to do. So, But how I got on his radar was that when I discovered him, I started to implement a lot of his marketing, and he was hating on like designers, rightly so. I mean, most graphic designers, they really have no concept of the marketing, of results, of more of an integrated, what is this brochure or magazine or newsletter, what is it going to do? They just focus on the one thing. So rightly so, he would get his message destroyed. He didn't like it. He would talk about it. But then I would implement the strategies that he was teaching in my marketing, and I would send it to him. I say, hey, Dan, look at this catalog I made. Look at this newsletter. Look at this print ad. And he's great. He would reply, and sometimes he would showcase it. And this is really how I got on his radar. So one day I decided, one time he wrote in his newsletter, he said, graphic designers, they barf at the kind of design I do. And so I sent him an empty barf bag, and I said, Dan, I did not barf, and here's the empty barf bag to prove it.
Very good, very good.
And so I was using the creative marketing, and that's how I got connected with him.
And you are the only designer that Dan loves.
Yeah.
I think still, right?
Yeah, he talks about the only one that he really trusts with the work and not destroying the message, and really what it comes down to is understanding the brand, right? So Dan has a brand. That ugly 15 fonts, tiny, horrible layout, whatever it is, it's actually a very intentional engineered brand. It may not have started out that way, but it became that. So now he's protecting it, and I understood that, which to me seemed common sense, but apparently not.
Good. All right. So when you approach a project, and now we've worked on 3 or 4 projects together now, which means she's doing good work because I keep hiring her back. And, Kia is like Disney. She knows how to take money from your wallet and leave you feeling good about it. So how do you, are there people that just you should not be working with, you will not work with? What are those? Because we talked a lot about the last couple of days, sifting, sorting, and screening out people that would just not be a good client.
Yeah.
Do you have a similar process?
So, and this is instructive because I've been doing this since 2005 or so, and a lot of being an agency providing services, you do a lot of one-off type projects, and that's what people come. They want a postcard, or they want the newsletter, or they want like a shock and awe, or something that's this one-off type of thing, and they get it done. But what happens is that it's not integrated into a bigger implementation plan or an execution strategy. And so doing that for many years and realizing that they're not really, we'll make something for them, and I'll check back with them, 2 months later, how'd it go? Well, I didn't mail it yet. It's like, well, I didn't send it out. The shock and awe pieces are still sitting there. And so, to answer your question, what type of people do you work with? We can still do that, but I prefer not to work in that way. I prefer, like you, Vance, and this is what I appreciate about you, that you is that you don't just do one thing, right? There's nothing wrong with the agencies who do the one thing. They're the specialists. You want that one thing, you go and do that. But the people who are giving you an integrated, here's these portions of it, here's how they play together, and here's how you execute it, they're the ones who are getting the results in the long term that last. And so it's the harder way because it's not a fast, quick win, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to get this amazing newsletter that you're going to send out. But it's the way that is sustainable and scalable. So I just acknowledge you for doing that, and that you are touching on all the systems. And the other thing about Vance, I don't know you didn't expect this, but you're like, we recently worked together. I have to say this. We recently finished working on can I say this?
We're done?
No.
We're done?
Well, I think so, but I'll keep taking your money.
Wait, we got some more meetings late. No, I'm just kidding.
So Vance wanted to kind of reposition his message. Can I share this? Is that okay?
You can, because I've talked to her quite a bit. Not extensively, but yes, this event was a little muddled mess. But
part of it came from wanting to stop being the Disney guy, which for whatever reason, you don't want to be associated with this highly trademarked brand, right? So he's like, what do? I have all these little brands everywhere. So we're working on this new messaging, which we worked through. You worked hard on that.
I did.
It was a great message of, what is it that you do? Who do you serve? Where do you bring the highest value? We create a message. And like a week later, it's in his emails. It's in his signs. It's like everywhere. He redid his, I was like, way to hustle. People don't do that. Truly, people don't do that.
What's the word? Implementation.
That's right. So what he says, he does. I just want you to know behind the scenes, he's doing it. The kind of people that I like to work with are the ones who really have the bigger vision for what they're trying to accomplish, because then everything they do is integrated and gets the biggest results. It's easier said than done, and it sounds kind of cliche. Have vision, you hear it everywhere. But the people that you work with who are helping you along this journey of, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish with your businesses, if they're not interested in your vision, or they're not interested in pulling that out of you, like, okay, what is it in the long run? What do you want this to do? Don't just do it. I call them marketing spasms. Don't just do one just to say you did it and see what you got. But let's make sure that it plugs into the bigger picture. So I love working with those people, and I've started to be more intentional about working with people. Can I give you an example?
Please,
which
feel
I
free.
think might
Yeah, you're good.
inspire.
Yeah.
So one of my past clients from years ago, which is instructive because your client retention, they come back. The ones who you stay and you nurture come back. But years ago, we made a flyer for him. He calls me up again, and he said, hey, he does this, he's in a very unique niche, refractory safety systems, which has to do with oil refinery, I think. Yeah.
The hell is that?
So something with oil refinery, the containers that these highly volatile chemicals are kept in have strict safety standards. There's like lining, so something coastal refractory, something or the other. And so he's in charge of training and teaching these refineries, oil refineries, to how to maintain those systems. So that's what he does. He does training, coaching, and then he'll do one-on-one work with them. And so he's trying to grow his business, the training. He has workshops and things like that. And so I'm talking to him, well, what are you trying to do? So he wants to grow. He wants more clients, more coaching. But what he told me, which is what got me to invite him to come and let's work together deeper, he said, a lot of these people who are in the oil refinery, they're these like young guys who really, they don't have anybody to mentor them. They don't have anybody that helping them in their career. They don't have anybody teaching them, being a role model for them. That's really what I want to do. I want to help these guys really have purpose in what they're doing, not just be this labor kind of a job. And that's what lit me up. I said, you let that be your North Star into everything you do. That's what's going to give you success. That's what's going to tell you, I'll do a shock and awe. No, I'll do a newsletter. No, I'll do that. Because at the end of the day, no matter what business you're in, you're always going to accomplish that vision. So that was a lot. I hope that made sense.
That was a lot. Holy cow.
Vision.
My friend Kia.
Oh,
Good job,
you.
good job.
Good,
So one last question, because like I said, we weren't expecting you, but I am making time because
Let's
I
do
think
it.
you're a valuable person to have
appreciate it.
on stage, is what questions should, if somebody's looking for somebody like you, what are the questions they should be asking to determine if that designer or that print person is right for them?
They got to be willing to put their neck out for you. Like, get into, what am I trying to say? Know whether, I call them robots, that you just push a button. They're vending machines. You push a button, you get what you ask for, and that's it. And that's okay. There are people out there, and sometimes you need that. You just need to push the button and get what you want. But there are other agencies who will walk through it with you, who will ask the questions, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What has worked in the past? What hasn't worked in the past? What's your budget? The budget question isn't to sell you the most possible. It's to, in my mind, is to make sure you get a return, right? So don't do this thing because you're not going to get the return you're looking for. So asking the questions that then they're going to be interested in the results that you get from whatever you're doing. Sometimes those results are money. Sometimes those results are like mindset transformation. But those are the ones that you want to have the relationships with. And that's why I like the your integrated strategy of everything, because it's a long-term relationship. So there's no right or wrong. Just know which one you're picking. Be aware of it.